coffee in my hand was still warm when the handcuffs clicked around my wrists. And in that moment, surrounded by strangers with their phones out, I had to make a choice. Destroy his career with 3 words, or let him see who I really was. What happened next changed both our lives forever. Before I tell you what happened next, hit subscribe if you truly believe in equality and fairness. Only those who don't believe won't subscribe. I have been an FBI agent for 12 years, but that Tuesday morning in Houston, I was just a man who needed caffeine. The kind of tired that seeps into your bones doesn't come from lack of sleep. It comes from always being on guard, always proving yourself, always carrying the weight of every black man who came before you in a bureau that's still learning what diversity actually means. I'd closed a human trafficking case the night before. 3 girls were going home to their families. But at 7:43 a.m., walking into that coffee shop on Westheimer with the Houston Strong banner in the window, nobody knew that. Nobody ever does. The barista, a young woman named Claudia, according to her name tag, smiled at me the way service workers do when they're genuinely kind, not when they're afraid. The usual, Mr. Williams? I'd been coming here for 3 weeks. She remembered. That small gesture made something in my chest loosen just a fraction. Please, I said, returning her smile. And maybe one of those blueberry muffins if they're fresh. Baked an hour ago. She winked. I found my spot by the window, the one where morning light cut through the glass at just the right angle, and pulled out my phone to check in with my partner, Davis. The text I'd started typing would remain unfinished for the next 2 hours. What would you have done in my position? Revealed your authority immediately, or waited to see how far prejudice would go? Drop your thoughts below, because that's when Officer Henry Frank walked in. I noticed him the way I notice everyone. Occupational hazard. 6'2", maybe 210 pounds, Houston PD uniform crisp despite the humidity that was already building outside. He had the walk. You know the one. The walk that says the badge isn't just what he wears, it's who he is. He ordered black coffee, no sugar. Didn't smile at Claudia, didn't say please. Just expected service like it was owed to him. I went back to my phone. Excuse me. The voice came from above me. I looked up. Officer Frank was standing there, coffee in one hand, the other resting on his belt, close to his weapon, not touching it. Just close. Yes, officer. I kept my voice level, neutral. I'd had this conversation before, in different cities, different circumstances. The script was always the same. I'm going to need to see some ID. The coffee shop went quiet. Not completely. The espresso machine still hissed. Someone's phone still played music. But the human sounds stopped. Conversations died mid-sentence. I felt eyes turning toward us like flowers to poisoned sun. May I ask why? Still calm. Still measured. His jaw tightened. Someone matching your description was involved in a robbery 2 blocks from here. I need to verify your identity. I'm 53 years old. I have salt and pepper hair, a beard I keep trimmed. And I was wearing a tailored charcoal suit that cost more than his weekly paycheck. The description was my skin color, and we both knew it. Officer, I've been sitting here for the last 20 minutes. Claudia can confirm that. I gestured toward the counter, where the barista stood frozen, her eyes wide with the kind of fear that comes from witnessing injustice and not knowing if intervention will make things worse. Sir, I'm not going to ask again. ID now. Something flickered across his face. Not malice, exactly, but certainty. The absolute conviction that he was right. that he was protecting these people from me, that his authority was unquestionable. I reached slowly for my wallet, making sure my hands stayed visible. 12 years of training, 12 years of being on the other side of this equation, and here I was, subject to the same bias I'd spent my career fighting. But as my fingers touched the leather of my wallet, I saw her. She'd just walked in, a woman in nurse's scrubs, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, exhaustion written in the slope of her shoulders. She stopped when she saw what was happening, and her eyes met mine across the room. Those eyes held something I hadn't seen in a long time. Recognition. Not of who I was, but of what was happening. Of the injustice unfolding in a space that smelled like cinnamon and coffee beans. And in that split second, I made a decision that would change everything. I closed my wallet. "Officer Frank," I said quietly, reading his name tag. "I think we need to have a conversation about what's really happening here." His hand moved closer to his weapon, and what came next would either end my career or save my soul, and I didn't know which one I wanted more. "I'm going to need you to stand up, sir." Officer Frank's voice had that edge now, the one that comes right before things escalate. I didn't move. "My name is Special Agent George Williams, Federal Bureau of Investigation." I said it quietly, just loud enough for him to hear. "And before you make the biggest mistake of your career, I'm going to give you a chance to walk away." His face flushed red. "You think you can—" "I don't think anything, Officer Frank. I'm telling you. My credentials are in my jacket pocket. You can verify them, or you can continue this performance. And in about 3 minutes, your supervisor is going to get a call that ends with you on desk duty pending an investigation." The coffee shop had gone completely silent now. Even the espresso machine seemed to be holding its breath. Frank's hand hovered near his gun. I could see the war happening behind his eyes. Pride versus self-preservation. Authority versus the creeping realization that maybe, just maybe, he'd made a catastrophic error in judgment. "Bullshit," he said finally. "Show me your hands." Slowly. I stood up. Slowly. Hands visible. The way I'd taught civilians to do in active shooter scenarios. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Jacket pocket, inside left. I'm going to reach for it now." "Don't," he started. "Stop!" The voice came from the woman in scrubs. She'd moved closer, her phone out, recording. Her hands trembled, but her voice didn't. "I'm a nurse at Houston Methodist," she said, louder now, addressing the entire room. "I'm recording this. Everyone should be recording this." She looked directly at Frank. "Because what's happening here is wrong, and you know it." Her name tag read Dr. Amara Stevens. Not a nurse, a doctor. And she was risking everything to speak up for a stranger. Our eyes met again, and something passed between us that I can't quite name. Recognition, yes, but deeper than that. Like two people who've been fighting the same battle in different trenches, suddenly realizing they're not alone. Frank's radio crackled. "Unit 47, what's your status?" His jaw worked. I could see the calculations happening. Cameras everywhere. Witnesses. A man claiming to be FBI. The new climate where everything ended up on the news. "I need to see credentials," he said, but the authority had leaked out of his voice. "You're going to see them," I replied. "But first, you're going to take your hand away from your weapon. Because I'm not a threat to anyone in this room, and we both know it." A muscle in his cheek twitched. Slowly, so slowly, his hand moved to his side. I reached into my jacket and pulled out my credentials. The leather case flipped open to reveal my badge and ID card. Special Agent George Williams, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Counterterrorism Division. The color drained from his face. Jesus, someone whispered behind me. Frank's radio crackled again. Unit 47, respond. He didn't reach for it. He was staring at my badge like it was a live grenade. I received a call, he said weakly. A description of a black man in a suit, I finished for him, in a city of 2 million people. And that was enough for you to approach me, demand ID, and threaten to arrest me for the crime of drinking coffee. I was doing my job. Your job, I interrupted, is to protect and serve, not to profile and intimidate. I took a breath, forcing the anger down. This wasn't about him. This was about every black man who'd been in this situation without a badge to protect them. Every person who couldn't flip open credentials and watch fear replace arrogance. I closed my badge and put it back in my pocket. You have a choice now, Officer Frank. You can apologize, learn from this, and walk away. Or I can make a formal complaint that follows you for the rest of your career. He stood there, trapped between pride and survival. And then Dr. Amara Stevens spoke again, her voice gentle now. Everyone deserves a second chance, she said, looking at me, not him. Don't you think? Her eyes held a question that had nothing to do with Officer Frank and everything to do with grace, forgiveness, and whether I was the kind of man who could choose mercy over vindication. In that moment, I realized I wanted to be worthy of those eyes. Officer, I said quietly, I think you should go. He left without another word, his shoulders hunched, his authority shattered, but I barely noticed. Because Dr. Amara Stevens was walking toward me, and suddenly, the worst morning of the month was becoming something else entirely. Something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. The moment Frank disappeared through the door, the coffee shop erupted. Are you okay? That was incredible. Can I post this video? You should sue the department. I held up a hand, trying to quiet the sudden storm of voices and phones and outrage. All I wanted was to sit down. My legs felt unsteady, adrenaline draining away and leaving something hollow in its wake. I'm fine, I said to no one and everyone. Thank you. Please just let it go. But Dr. Stevens wasn't letting anything go. She was still standing there, phone in hand, her brown eyes searching my face with an intensity that made me want to look away. That's it? She asked. You're just going to let him walk away? I turned to face her fully. Up close, I could see the exhaustion etched around her eyes, the coffee stain on her scrubs, the small scar above her left eyebrow. She looked like someone who'd been fighting her own battles long before she walked into mine. What would you have me do? I asked quietly. Hold him accountable. File a complaint. Make sure he never does this to someone else. Someone who doesn't have a badge to protect them. She was right, and we both knew it. But she didn't understand what it cost to be the one who filed complaints, who made noise, who became the difficult black agent that everyone had to deal with. You don't know how this works, I said, more sharply than I intended. Her eyes flashed. I'm a black woman in emergency medicine. Don't tell me I don't know how this works. Then you know that filing a complaint means investigations, interviews, my face on the news. My bosses asking why I'm creating problems for the Bureau's relationship with local PD. I ran a hand over my face. I've been fighting this fight for 12 years. Sometimes you have to choose your battles. And this isn't one of them? I don't even know your name. Dr. Amara Stevens. She said it like a challenge. And you're Special Agent George Williams, Counterterrorism Division, who apparently thinks letting racist cops walk away is choosing battles wisely. The people around us were pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. Claudia had my coffee and muffin ready at the counter, but I couldn't make myself move toward them. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. Amara's voice softened, but the intensity didn't leave her eyes. I stood up because I thought you were going to. I recorded because I thought you'd use it. I risked that officer turning on me because I believed. She stopped, shaking her head. Never mind what I believed. She turned to leave, and I felt something crack open in my chest. Wait. She paused but didn't turn around. You're right, I said to her back. About all of it. But I'm tired, Dr. Stevens. I'm so goddamn tired of being the one who has to be brave, who has to fight, who has to prove that I deserve basic human dignity. My voice dropped. Sometimes I just want to drink my coffee in peace. She turned then, and the anger had left her face. What remained was understanding, and somehow that was worse. I know, she said softly. I know exactly what you mean. We stood there in the middle of the coffee shop, two strangers connected by injustice and exhaustion, and I wanted to say something profound, something that would make her stay, would turn this moment into something other than two ships passing in a storm. Instead, I said, "Can I at least buy you a coffee? As a thank you?" She glanced at her watch. I just finished a 12-hour shift. I need to go home and sleep for approximately 16 hours. Right. Of course. She started toward the door again, and I told myself to let her go, to sit down with my coffee and move on with my life, to forget about the woman with fire in her eyes and compassion in her voice. But then she stopped at the door and looked back. But I'll be back tomorrow. Same time. If you want to try this whole peaceful coffee thing again. She was gone before I could respond, she leaving me standing there with the ghost of her smile and the certainty that I'd be back tomorrow. Same time, whether it was wise or not. Claudia caught my eye from behind the counter and grinned. That, she said, was better than any telenovela. I couldn't help but smile back. Tell me about it. But as I finally sat down with my now lukewarm coffee, I caught a glimpse of someone standing outside the window. Officer Henry Frank. He was watching the coffee shop with an expression I couldn't quite read. Shame? Anger? Something else? Our eyes met through the glass, and for a moment, neither of us moved. Then his phone rang. He answered it, and whatever moment we'd been having shattered. He walked away, but something about the set of his shoulders told me this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I should have gone to work. I had reports to file, a debrief meeting at 11, and 3 new cases waiting on my desk. Instead, I sat in that coffee shop for another hour, watching people come and go, trying to process what had happened. Trying not to think about Dr. Amara Stevens. I failed spectacularly at both. My phone buzzed. Davis, my partner. Where are you? Meeting starts in 20. I typed back. Had an incident. On my way. What kind of incident? The kind we'll laugh about in 10 years, I hoped. I was gathering my things when the door chimed. Officer Frank walked back in. Every muscle in my body tensed. My hand instinctively moved toward my concealed weapon, a habit I hated, a reflex born from too many situations that had gone wrong too fast. But Frank's hands were visible, his posture different, defeated. Agent Williams. He stopped a respectful distance away. Can we talk? I think we've talked enough. Please. Something in his voice made me pause. Not authority this time. Desperation. I gestured to the chair across from me. He sat like a man expecting punishment. I need your help, he said quietly. You've got to be kidding me. I'm serious. He leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. That call I got, the one about a robbery suspect, it didn't come through official channels. It came from a burner phone. Someone wanted me to confront you. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. What are you talking about? I've been getting threats, anonymous messages, someone saying they're going to expose me for something I didn't do, plant evidence, ruin my career. He met my eyes. And then today, I get that call, and I find you, an FBI agent, sitting here like you're waiting for something to happen. You think I set you up? No, I think we both did. I studied his face. The fear was real. So was the shame. Why would someone target both of us? I asked. I don't know. But after I left, I got a text. He pulled out his phone, hands shaking slightly, and showed me the screen. How does it feel to harass a federal agent? Wait until the video goes viral. Your career is over, Frank. My blood went cold. When did you get this? 3 minutes after I walked out. Who else knew I was FBI? I didn't tell anyone except... I stopped. We both thought it at the same time. The video, Frank said. Someone wanted that confrontation recorded. They wanted me to look like a racist cop and you to look like a victim or a target. I pulled out my own phone. What did the original call say exactly? Armed robbery suspect, black male, 40s to 50s, gray suit at this location. Considered dangerous. They gave you my exact description and made sure I'd approach you aggressively. I was already dialing my office. This wasn't random harassment. This was coordinated, professional. Davis, I said when my partner answered, I need you to trace a number. I nodded at Frank, who recited the burner phone digits. George, what's going on? Someone just tried to end both my career and a Houston PD officer's reputation in one move. I need to know who and why. There was a pause. Are you safe? I looked at Frank, who was staring at his phone like it might explode. Define safe. Get to the office, now. Copy that. I hung up and stood. Officer Frank, you're coming with me. I'm supposed to be on patrol. Your patrol just became protective custody. Someone with resources and planning skills wanted us to destroy each other this morning. That means they know who we both are, where we'd be, and exactly how to manipulate the situation. I grabbed my jacket. Either we figure out who and why, or we both go down for crimes we didn't commit. His phone buzzed again. Another text. The doctor was a nice touch, wasn't she? So noble, so brave. Shame what's going to happen to her. We both froze. Amara, I breathed. Frank looked up, his face pale. They're going after her too? I was already running for the door. Drop a comment. Would you trust the person who just humiliated you if they claimed you were both in danger? Houston Methodist Hospital was a 15-minute drive that I made in 8. Frank rode in my passenger seat, his patrol car abandoned at the coffee shop, both of us calling every official and unofficial contact we had. My FBI credentials got us through hospital security. His uniform got us confused looks from nurses who didn't understand why a cop and a federal agent were sprinting through the ER like their lives depended on it. Maybe they did. Dr. Stevens, I said to the charge nurse, flashing my badge. Where is she? She signed out an hour ago. 12-hour shift ended at 8. Home address? I can't give you that. Federal investigation. I wasn't asking anymore. Lives at risk, now. She hesitated, then wrote on a post-it note. An apartment complex in Montrose, 20 minutes away in normal traffic. We ran back to my car. Call it in, I told Frank. Get units to her address. Silent approach. No lights, no sirens. If someone's watching, we don't want to spook them. He was already on his radio, his voice steady and professional. Whatever else he was, whatever mistakes he'd made this morning, he was still a cop. And right now, I needed that. My phone rang. Davis. Tell me something good, I said. The burner number traces back to a prepaid phone purchased in cash 3 days ago at a convenience store in 3rd Ward. Store cameras show a male, white, approximately 6 feet, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. Professional. Knew where the cameras were. That's not good, Davis. It gets worse. I pulled your recent case files. The trafficking ring you just dismantled. The main operator, Viktor Sokolov, he's still at large. We got his network, but not him. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Sokolov. Frank looked at me sharply. The Russian? You know him. HPD has been tracking his money laundering operation for 6 months. My previous partner was building a case before he... Frank stopped. Before he what? Before he died. Car accident, 3 weeks ago. Frank's voice had gone quiet. They ruled it mechanical failure. Brake line corroded. Brake lines don't corrode in 3-year-old police vehicles. That's what I said. Nobody listened. The pieces were falling into place, and I didn't like the picture they were forming. Sokolov doesn't forgive, I said. He doesn't forget, and he doesn't leave loose ends. You think he orchestrated this morning? The confrontation? I think he wanted both of us discredited. You, because you're close to something that could hurt him. Me, because I already hurt him. I ran a red light, checking for cross traffic. And Dr. Stevens. She's collateral damage, someone who witnessed the confrontation and spoke up. No. I shook my head. She recorded it. She made herself visible. If this goes viral, Sokolov can use it to discredit both of us before we even realize we're both threats to him. My phone buzzed. A video message from an unknown number. I shouldn't have opened it while driving. I did anyway. The video showed Amara entering her apartment building. Timestamp 43 minutes ago. The angle suggested someone had been waiting, watching. Then text appeared over the frozen image. She chose to get involved. That was her mistake. Step on it, Frank said quietly. I was already doing 90. We pulled up to Amara's building with 2 HPD units right behind us. Frank's call had brought backup. No lights, no sirens, but the officers emerging from those vehicles moved with purpose. 3rd floor, apartment 312, I said, checking the address. Frank, you take the back exit. Nobody leaves this building. What are you going to do? Knock on her door and pray she answers. We split up. I took the stairs 3 at a time, my weapon drawn but held low. Other residents peered out through cracked doors, then quickly shut them when they saw my badge and gun. The door was slightly ajar. My heart stopped. Amara! I called out, pushing the door open carefully, weapon raised. FBI, Dr. Stevens, if you're here, make yourself known. Silence. The apartment was small, neat, decorated with medical textbooks and framed photos of a family that looked happy and whole. A cup of tea sat on the counter, still steaming. She'd been here moments ago. Then I saw it. On the coffee table, her phone, her purse, her keys, and a note, handwritten, in a language I recognized from the Sokolov case. Russian. I didn't need to read Russian to understand the message. The image said enough. A photo of Amara, unconscious in the back of a vehicle. They had her, and it was my fault. The next 6 hours were a blur of phone calls, jurisdictional arguments, and the kind of bureaucratic nightmare that happens when FBI and local PD try to coordinate a kidnapping investigation involving a Russian organized crime figure who technically doesn't exist on paper. Frank and I ended up in a conference room at the FBI field office, surrounded by agents, detectives, surveillance photos, and a ticking clock that none of us wanted to acknowledge. "Sokolov wants a trade," Davis said, hanging up his phone. "He just made contact through an intermediary. He releases Dr. Stevens unharmed in exchange for both of you backing off his operations and destroying any evidence collected." "That's not happening," I said flatly. "George..." I said no. I stood up, pacing. "We give him that. We lose everything. The 3 girls are safe because of that evidence. Dozens more will be trafficked if we let him walk." Frank spoke up from the corner where he'd been silent for the last hour. "What if we agree to the trade but don't follow through?" Every eye in the room turned to him. "Explain," my SAC, special agent in charge, said. "We tell him we'll destroy the evidence, set up a meet, get Dr. Stevens back safely, then we arrest everyone involved and proceed with the case." "That's entrapment," one of the lawyers said. "No," I corrected. "That's negotiation under duress. We're not inducing him to commit a new crime. He already kidnapped a civilian. We're just using his leverage against him." The SAC studied me. "You want to use yourself as bait." "Us," Frank said, stepping forward. "He wants both of us discredited or dead. Let's give him the chance." For the first time since this morning, I really looked at Officer Henry Frank. The man who'd humiliated me over coffee was volunteering to walk into a trap beside me. "Why?" I asked him directly. "This isn't your case. You could walk away." He met my eyes. "My partner died investigating this man. A good woman was taken because she stood up for you. And this morning, I did something I swore I'd never do. I let my assumptions override my judgment." His voice roughened. "I can't undo what I did to you at that coffee shop, but maybe I can make sure Dr. Stevens gets to drink her coffee tomorrow morning." Something shifted in my chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the beginning of understanding. "She told me everyone deserves a second chance," I said quietly. "She was talking about you, not me. Maybe she was talking about both of us." The SAC cleared his throat. "This is touching, but we have a civilian in danger and a criminal making demands. What's the play?" I looked at the surveillance photos of Viktor Sokolov, a man in his 50s, distinguished, the kind of evil that wore expensive suits and smiled at charity galas while children disappeared into shipping containers. "We agree to the trade," I said, "but we do it my way." 4 hours later, Frank and I sat in an abandoned warehouse in the 5th Ward, waiting. They'd allowed us to wear vests under our shirts, but no weapons, no wires, no backup within visual range. Sokolov's people had been clear. Any sign of a trap, and Amara died. "You ever been married?" Frank asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. "What?" "Married, significant other. Someone waiting for you at home." "No. The job doesn't leave much room for that." I paused. "You?" "Divorced. 3 years now. She said I loved the badge more than I loved her." He laughed bitterly. She was probably right. "Is that why you came back to the coffee shop? After everything?" He was quiet for a long moment, I came back because after I left, I looked in a mirror and didn't recognize myself. My father was a cop. Good man. Fair man. He always said the badge was a responsibility, not a right. Frank's voice dropped. I dishonored his memory this morning. I dishonored the uniform. And I dishonored you. Frank, let me finish. When I got that text, threatening to expose what I'd done, my first thought wasn't fear for my career. It was shame. Because I knew what I'd done was wrong, and I knew the man I'd become wasn't the man I'd promised to be. Headlights cut through the warehouse darkness. They're here, I said. A black SUV pulled up and 4 men emerged. Professional, armed, dangerous. The back door opened and they pulled Amara out. She was alive. Scared, but alive. And when she saw me, something in her eyes made every risk worth it. Williams, one of the men called. You bring what we asked for? I held up a USB drive. Everything. All the evidence. All the files. Throw it here. Let her go first. Not how this works. Frank stepped forward. Then here's how it works. You get the drive when she's halfway to us, not before. The man smiled. Brave words from a dirty cop. I'm not dirty, Frank said evenly. But I'm willing to die tonight if that's what it takes. They believed him. Maybe because it was true. Send her, the man finally said. They released Amara. She stumbled forward and I fought every instinct to run to her. Walk slowly, I called to her. Don't look back. She did. 1 step, 2, 3. And that's when everything went wrong. The explosion came from the east side of the warehouse. A flash of light and thunder that turned the world sideways. I hit the ground, covering my head as debris rained down. Gunfire erupted, shouting, chaos. When I looked up, Amara was on the ground 10 feet away, and Sokolov's men were scrambling for cover. This wasn't our backup. We'd specifically ordered them to hold position. This was someone else. Amara! I crawled toward her through the smoke and dust. Are you hit? She was coughing, terrified, but alive. What's happening? I don't know, but we need to move. Now. Frank appeared beside us, blood running down his face from a cut above his eye. East exit. Go. More gunfire. I pulled Amara to her feet and ran, Frank covering our retreat. Behind us, men were screaming in Russian. The warehouse had become a war zone, and we were caught in the middle. We burst through a side door into the Houston night. FBI tactical vehicles were roaring up the street. Our backup arriving too early or right on time, I couldn't tell which. Down! Get down! Someone shouted. We hit the pavement as agents swarmed the building. The tactical team moved with precision, and within minutes, the shooting stopped. Davis found us huddled behind a concrete barrier. George, are you hurt? We're fine. What the hell happened? We got a tip. Anonymous call saying Sokolov was about to execute you both. We had to move in. A tip? From who? Don't know. But they saved your lives. I looked at Frank, then at Amara, who was shaking in shock. Or they wanted Sokolov captured. Either way, it was over. Agents were hauling suspects out in handcuffs. Sokolov himself emerged, hands zip-tied, his expensive suit torn and dirty. He looked directly at me as they led him past. You think this ends anything, Agent Williams? You have no idea what you've started. Get him out of here, Davis said. I helped Amara to her feet. It's over. You're safe. She pulled away from me, her eyes fierce despite the tears. Safe? I was kidnapped because of you, because I recorded a video, because I spoke up, because Her voice broke. I thought I was going to die tonight. Amara, I'm so sorry. Sorry? You put a target on my back, on you and him. She gestured at Frank. I just wanted to help. I just wanted to do the right thing. You did. You saved. I didn't save anyone. I nearly got myself killed. She was crying now, furious and terrified and breaking down all at once. I have a family. I have a mother who already buried one child, and tonight she almost buried another because I couldn't mind my own business. Each word was a knife, because she was right. Dr. Stevens, Frank said gently, we never wanted this. I don't care what you wanted. She backed away from both of us. Stay away from me, both of you. Just stay away. An EMT approached with a blanket. Amara let herself be led to an ambulance, and I watched her go with the sinking feeling that I'd lost something I'd barely had a chance to find. She'll calm down, Frank said. She's in shock. She's right to hate me. I watched the ambulance doors close. I brought this into her life. Sokolov brought this into her life. We just happened to be there. You really believe that? He was quiet. No. The FBI would want statements. There would be debriefs, reports, probably commendations. We'd taken down a major trafficking operation and captured a wanted criminal. But all I could think about was Amara's face, the fear, the betrayal. Davis approached with a phone. George, you need to take this. It's the deputy director. I took the phone, but I was still watching the ambulance pull away. Agent Williams, the deputy director's voice was grave. I need you in D.C. tomorrow. We have a situation. Sir, I'm in the middle of... This is non-negotiable. There's been a development in the Sokolov case. Someone very powerful wants this buried, and they're willing to destroy careers to make that happen. My blood went cold. Whose careers? Yours. Officer Frank's. Anyone connected to this arrest. The night wasn't over. It had barely begun. I didn't sleep. Neither did Frank. We sat in the FBI field office conference room as dawn broke over Houston, drinking bad coffee and reading through the files Davis had compiled. Jesus, Frank muttered, rubbing his eyes. How high does this go? High enough that the deputy director is scared. I pointed to a name in the documents. Senator Mitchell Carlisle, Texas, sits on the Judiciary Committee. According to these financial records, he's been receiving campaign contributions from shell corporations tied to Sokolov's network for 3 years. And if Sokolov talks, Carlisle goes down, along with how many others? 4? 5? I leaned back. They're going to bury this. They're going to bury us. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. There's a car waiting outside. Get in if you want to protect Dr. Stevens. I showed it to Frank. Could be Sokolov's people, he said. Could be someone else. We both knew what I was going to do. The car was a black sedan, unmarked, with tinted windows. The driver didn't speak as I climbed in. Frank insisted on coming too. We drove for 20 minutes, ending up at a private airfield outside the city. A Gulfstream jet sat on the tarmac, and stepping out of it was a woman I recognized from congressional hearings, Senator Mitchell Carlisle's chief of staff. Agent Williams, Officer Frank. She approached with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Thank you for coming. I don't remember being given a choice. There's always a choice. She handed me a folder. Inside, you'll find a transfer order. Agent Williams, you're being reassigned to the Anchorage field office, effective immediately. Officer Frank, while you're being offered early retirement with full pension. And if we refuse? Then Dr. Amara Stevens will face federal charges for interfering with an FBI operation. Her medical license will be suspended pending investigation. Her mother's small business, a bakery in Third Ward, will be audited by the IRS. Her brother's student visa will be revoked. My hands clenched. You're threatening an innocent woman. I'm protecting national security. Senator Carlisle's work on the Judiciary Committee is vital to this country's safety. A scandal now would derail critical legislation. Legislation, I repeated slowly. You're destroying lives to protect legislation? I'm protecting the greater good. Sometimes that requires difficult choices. Frank stood up. No. She blinked. I'm sorry? I said no. I'm not retiring. I'm not walking away. And you're not threatening Dr. Stevens or her family. Officer Frank, you don't understand the forces you're dealing with. I understand that this morning, I did something I'm ashamed of. I let fear and prejudice turn me into someone I didn't recognize. He looked at me. Agent Williams gave me a chance to be better. Dr. Stevens believed people deserve second chances. I'm not going to prove them wrong by taking the coward's way out now. The Chief of Staff's smile vanished. Then you'll both be destroyed. Your careers, your reputations, everyone you care about. I thought about Amara, about her mother who'd already lost one child, about her brother trying to build a life in a new country, about the woman who'd stood up for a stranger and paid for it with terror. I thought about the badge I'd worn for 12 years, the oath I'd taken, the reason I'd joined the FBI in the first place, to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Do your worst, I said quietly. The Chief of Staff studied us both. You're making a mistake. Probably, but it's our mistake to make. She got back on the plane without another word. Frank and I stood on the tarmac as the Gulf Stream took off, carrying our last chance at an easy way out. We're screwed, Frank said, completely. What do we do now? I pulled out my phone and made a call I should have made hours ago. Who are you calling? The line clicked. A tired, angry, beautiful voice answered. Dr. Stevens, I said. We need to talk. What would you do? Take the safe route and protect those you love, or risk everything for truth? Let us know in the comments. Amara agreed to meet us at the coffee shop. The same one where everything started, the same corner table by the window. Claudia was working again, and when we walked in, she gave me a look that said she'd seen the news. The whole city had. Heroic FBI agent and Houston officer dismantle trafficking ring. What they didn't know was the other story, the one that was about to break. Amara was already sitting there, a cup of tea in front of her. She'd showered, changed, but the shadows under her eyes told the story of a sleepless night. You have 5 minutes, she said, without preamble. I sat down. Frank remained standing, giving us space. They threatened you, I said. Your family, your career, because of us. I know. A woman from Senator Carlisle's office called me 2 hours ago. Said if I testified about what happened with Sokolov, they'd make my life hell. What did you say? Her eyes met mine. I said I'd think about it. Then I called my mother and told her everything. You know what she said? I shook my head. She said my brother didn't escape Somalia and risk his life crossing the ocean so I could learn to stay silent when I witness injustice. Amara's voice was steady now. She said she already lost one daughter to violence. She wasn't going to lose another to fear. Something broke open in my chest. Amara. I'm going to testify, George. I'm going to tell the truth about everything. The harassment, the kidnapping, the threats, all of it. She paused. But I need to know you're going to stand with me, not as an FBI agent, as a man. Frank stepped forward. He won't be standing alone. She looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. You're the officer who harassed him. Yes, ma'am. Why should I trust you? Because this morning I made the worst mistake of my career, and tonight I'm trying to make the best decision of my life. He sat down. I'm testifying too. About the threats, about my partner's death, about everything. And then I'm filing a formal complaint against myself for what I did to Agent Williams. Frank, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because Dr. Stevens was right. Everyone deserves a second chance. But you don't get that chance by running from what you've done. You get it by facing it. Amara was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone and set it on the table. Recording. Tell me everything, she said. And I mean everything. We talked for 3 hours. We told her about Sokolov, about the senator, about the threats and the cover-up and the choice we'd made on that airfield. She listened, asked questions, and recorded every word. When we finished, dawn was breaking for the second time in 24 hours. This is going to destroy careers, she said quietly. Not just yours. People will lose everything. I know. People might hate you. I know that too. She smiled then. Small, but real. Good. Because I didn't risk my life for cowards. Davis arrived with FBI lawyers. Frank's captain showed up with internal affairs. By noon, we were in a federal courthouse, giving sworn testimony to a grand jury. By evening, Senator Mitchell Carlisle was under investigation. By the end of the week, Sokolov had accepted a plea deal that would put him away for 30 years, and by the end of the month, Chief Officer Henry Frank and I were both sitting in that same coffee shop, unemployed but free, watching the news coverage of the biggest political scandal to hit Texas in a decade. Worth it? Frank asked. Ask me in a year. The door chimed. Amara walked in, still in scrubs from a shift. She'd faced her own investigation. Hospital administrators didn't love their doctors making national news. But her medical license was intact, and her testimony had been the key that unlocked everything. She sat down beside me. I ordered you the usual. You didn't have to do that. I know. Her hand found mine under the table. But I wanted to. Frank stood up. I should go. Stay, Amara said. Someone should witness what happens next. What happens next? I asked. She turned to me, her eyes holding everything I'd been afraid to hope for. What happens next is you ask me to dinner. A real dinner, not coffee at a crime scene. Amara, my life is complicated right now. George, I was kidnapped by Russian mobsters and threatened by a senator. Your complicated is my Tuesday, she smiled. Take me to dinner. Yes, I said, not caring that Frank was grinning like an idiot. Yes, absolutely, yes. Claudia brought over my coffee and muffin, then leaned in conspiratorially. Better than any telenovela, she whispered. And this time she was right. 6 months later, Frank graduated from law school. Turns out losing your badge gives you time to pursue dreams you'd buried. He started working with civil rights organizations, helping people file complaints against police misconduct. Amara and I got married on a Sunday morning in her mother's bakery. I'm surrounded by family and friends and the smell of fresh bread. Davis was my best man. Frank gave a speech that made everyone cry. We honeymooned in a place with no news, no politics, and no coffee shops where federal cases began. But we came back. To Houston, to the work, to the fight. Because some battles choose you. And when they do, you can either run or you can stand. You can choose silence or truth, fear or courage. We chose courage, and I chose her. Every single day, I choose her. The officer who harassed me in Houston, Texas, didn't know who he was talking to. But in trying to diminish who I was, he helped me become who I needed to be. Someone worthy of the woman who stood up when everyone else stayed silent. Someone worthy of love at last. Have you ever had to choose between what's easy and what's right? Share your story in the comments below. Your courage might inspire someone else to stand up.